Okay, it's day 125. This is part one, and this agency here on Savushkina Street, it's become kind of an internet meme now, 55 Savushkina. And it is the topic of both the left and the right now on wall-to-wall news, but no one is actually looking at 55 Savushkina yet. But you can tell that the story is coming in the direction of 55 Savushkina. So I thought, well, I'm going to take you there first. Here's 55 Savushkina. Watch these young guys, young girls, running in the office at 9 a.m., their exact time they need to be in the office. So there you saw it, the big threat to American democracy. Now let's look at their work product. We're going to go back to the Colombian chemicals, which is certainly the most serious thing they did, which was push this story that there was a toxic cloud about ready to descend on New Orleans. And if you look at the tweets and you translate them from Russian, you can see that they are, this one gal, Nikolaeva, they're nothing to do with Colombian chemicals. And if you go back, they're just page after page after page of just people putting out hashtags. You can tell they're being paid by piecework. Probably, 1 ruble per tweet. Everything is, well, here, I'll give an example. This one is one in German that I finally saw. I am Lisa, I have Twitter. This was the threat. This was the huge threat to American democracy, the one that almost took down the election. Now remember, this was in September 11th, 2014, almost 2 years and 2 months before the actual election. But this is what is being blamed for swinging the election. Now the other piece that's come out on this is, I posted this morning, which is just a reminder that the actual testimony, not conjecture, but the actual testimony in the Senate Intelligence Committee by Facebook, and the Vice President of Advertisements, Mr. Goldman, says the Russians spent $46,000. Now you can go check that. The Clinton and Trump campaign spent $81 million alone, not counting super PACs and not counting people who had affinities toward those campaigns. This is $46,000. Now most of this money was spent after the election. If you really want to drill down on it, most of it was spent in Washington, D.C., not any of the purple states. So it's just kind of funny. Now, the New York Times has covered this 3 days ago with trying to respin Savushkina, the whole Savushkina story. And I think Savushkina is going to become one of those words like edamame or something that's kind of a poshy little name-droppy word at dinner parties to show that you're kind of hip and in the know. You're a New York Times Magazine reader, or you're like Adrian Chen now, who works at the New Yorker, which I'm glad to see he's not a freelancer anymore, because he obviously wrote probably one of the most seminal pieces ever about internet hoaxes. And that's, I think, what he's going to be known for, is a man who dismantled the internet hoax. Now here's a guy who's just going online with a new YouTube channel right now, and his name is Hopsicker, like hopscotch, like pretend this was hopscotch, and then if he was really good, he would be sicker than anybody else. So Hopsicker has been studying Florida and drug corruption in Florida for the last 10 years, and he calls this the shuffleboard conspiracy. I'll play it for you, about Oleg Deripaska and a couple of other Russians.
The shuffleboard cartel. The first Russian who came to my attention in connection with this group, a connection explored in detail in the next episode of The Current Unpleasantnesses, is Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska. Remember him? He's the guy who played Oleg Daddy to former Trump campaign chief Paul Manafort to the tune of $10 million a year. He's also featured prominently in a new video from a courageous Russian dissident, which explains the connection between the Russians and Donald Trump. Today, Oleg Deripaska has been dressed up as an international businessman and philanthropist who offers sound bites on the state of the global economy. But calling Oleg Deripaska a businessman, a billionaire, or an oligarch, as the New York Times and Wall Street Journal do, is fake news, because what Oleg Deripaska really is a Russian mobster, a gangster, thug. He was.
Okay, and I'll leave it right there. And so that's probably fair use provisions limit me to that. So I'm going to publish the feed later, Daniel Hopsiker. Now, he's not very much of a Trump fan, and he goes on to talk about how Trump bought Adnan Khashoggi's yacht and how Trump bought a villa, a villa was purchased by Trump for $100 million for this guy to launder money from Deutsche Bank. So it's not going to always be what you want to hear if you're a Trump fan, but I do like the fact that it's somebody who's on the ground, who's seen these Russians before, and is not falling for the story that, oh, these are Russian oligarchs or somehow businessmen. They're more, I love that whole shuffleboard thing. They're calling it what it is. These are criminals. These are Russian criminals that have been embraced by the Clinton Foundation and the apparatchiks of the Clinton Foundation to be shown for what they are. So that's why I point out guys like Daniel Hopsiker. That's why I point out guys like Adrian Chen. News is the current opinion news that's happening on both channels, both Fox and the left side, are going to fall by the wayside. And this type of reporting, which is actually fact-based reporting, looking at things over a distance of time, is going to win in the end.